everyone, my name is Keely. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today I'm so excited for this video because I'm going to take you book shopping with me across America. So yesterday I got home from a 2-week road trip where I left my home in South Texas and drove up to Oregon. We went through 12 different states, over 6,000 miles, and I managed to visit several bookstores along the way, and I really love come book shopping with me videos. So I think this one's going to be really fun to see me book shop throughout the country, at least on the west side of the country. And I love visiting independent bookstores and just seeing the uniqueness in each different store. Now normally I would not buy this many books on vacation, and I also wouldn't buy books that are quite this expensive, but every time I go to an independent bookstore, I like to buy at least one book to help support that store. But I am so excited to show you these different bookstores, and after you see the clips of me in it, I will stop and talk about all of them and of course show you the books that I got. It is very bright out here, but we are in Mesa, Arizona, and we are going to go into half-price books. I'm so excited, but also hopefully I don't spend too much money. So Half Price Books in Mesa, Arizona. This is the bookstore that kind of started this idea for me because we needed to kill some time while we were waiting for my mom's best friend to get home, and I was like, hey, there's a Half Price Books there, let's just go and see it. And then I had the idea, what if I do come book shopping with me across America? So Half Price Books was there, and I love Half Price Books. I go there quite often. We have a few around me in Texas, and I could usually spend a lot of money in there. But I was really good and only bought one book in Half Price Books, and that is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. Now, hear me out. I did also pre-order this book, but the day that it came out, I was on vacation, so I knew I wasn't going to get my pre-order in my hands. I saw this at the bookstore on release day, and it's signed. So like, do the math. I had to pick it up while I was there. And here's the signature right there. And then also Half Price Books has these bookmarks that I absolutely love, and they're like different art pieces. I have several of these, and of course this is the iconic The Scream, but this is the only book I got at Half Price Books, which it was a struggle. There were a few that I was going to pick up because the sprayed edges at these Half Price Books, like, books are stepping up with their sprayed edges nowadays. But yes, Middle of the Night was my first purchase on this road trip. Alright, time for bookstore number 2. We are actually currently in Las Vegas, Nevada, so if it's a little noisy, sorry. But I looked up a bookstore and it's called The Writer's Block, so we are going to go to it, and it was actually in the Wall Street Journal. So I'm really excited, it looks really great, so I'm going to take you along. Next, we made our way over to Las Vegas, Nevada, and I have been through Las Vegas before, but this was my first time staying the night there, and so of course, I looked up bookstores because we got there kind of early, and I found the coolest bookstore in the entire world. So first of all, the name of this bookstore, Writer's Block, iconic, love that name, and it's also a bookstore and artificial bird sanctuary, so they have like birds all over the place and it looks like an overgrown forest with bookshelves in it, and they also have a live pet rabbit, which is just iconic. I love how this bookstore was organized. It was very clear what section you were looking at, and I wanted to get so many things because not only did they have traditionally published books, they also had independent published books, a lot of horror books that I really wanted, but I am in a major mood for romance right now, so I picked up The Boy with the Bookshop by Sarah Ekavar Smith, and I've never heard of this one. I think it's fun to also not only support independent bookstores, but while I'm there, pick up books I've never heard of, and if I'm in the romance mood, and this has two of my favorite things, a bookshop owner and a bakery owner. Like, and they're sharing a spot. The bookstore and the bakery are in the same building. I love that. I've never heard of it. I don't want to look it up. I just want to read it and go into it and hopefully love it. Good morning, another day, another bookstore. We are in South Lake Tahoe, California this morning, and we are heading to Cupa Tahoe. I'm so excited. This place is absolutely stunning. So then we made our way over to Lake Tahoe, California, which was one of my absolute favorite places we visited on this trip, and I went to the bookstore there called Cupa Tahoe. Now, this bookstore is also a cafe and like a study and work area, so it's quite small, and the book selection was very minuscule. There wasn't a lot of options, but the organization of this place with the seating arrangements was incredible. There were so many different chairs and couches that I absolutely loved, and like I said, the coffee and the treats that were there, I didn't eat anything, but my mom and sister got stuff. My sister loved her drink and my mom did not. However, this place was pretty crowded with quite loud and obnoxious people, so I was getting quite anxious while being in this place because we had these like 6 teenagers that were standing in the section that I wanted to look through, and I couldn't look through it because it was so small and compact. So I ended up not getting anything here, but I still enjoyed my time going here. And if I lived in Lake Tahoe, I would definitely go to this bookstore and coffee shop to work because they did have an entire separate room where you can sit and work, which seemed like really peaceful and great. Another day, another city, another bookstore. We are now in Port Angeles, Washington, and I am at Odyssey Books and Gifts. This is the town where Bella Swan went to a bookstore in Twilight. Not the exact bookstore, but a bookstore nonetheless. my favorite memories was going to Port Angeles, Washington. If you are a Twilight fan, this is where Bella Swan goes to a bookstore to buy books about vampires. So as soon as we got to Port Angeles, I knew I had to go to a bookstore because Bella Swan bought a book there, and so I needed to buy a book there. So we went over to Odyssey Books and Gifts, and this bookstore was my second favorite on the trip. I absolutely loved it. There was so much in it, not just new books, but also a ton of used books, knickknacks, like anything you can imagine was in this bookstore, and I just loved it. I could have spent hours there, but we had to get going, and I actually bought 2 books at this bookstore. The first one is Love, Lists, and Fancy Ships by Sarah Grunder Ruiz, and the title on the cover caught me because anytime you see a blonde girl on the cover, I'm there. But I also love lists in books. Anytime there's some kind of bucket list or a to-do list, I really want to read it. This one seems interesting because her name is also Jo. My middle name is Jo, so she seems very similar to me. She's a yacht stewardess. I really want to be a flight attendant, so we have some similarities there as well. But this book also deals with grief, and you know, grief romance books are my favorite thing. And in this book, Jo's nephew actually suddenly passes away, and she is dealing with that grief when her 2 nieces show up with a list of things that she needs to do before she turns 30. I am almost 30, so I just feel like I'm going to relate so hard to this book, and I'm really excited about it. The second book I picked up on a major whim at this bookstore was Her Heart's Delight by Renee J. Garrett, and this is clearly a mass market paperback that is a historical romance, but this cover is stunning. I love white covers, and the pink just catches it, and like the couple, it's amazing. And I don't even know what it's about. It says there was never a woman he couldn't tame or a man she couldn't captivate. So we'll see. It looks like a cowboy romance, which oddly enough, I've been really getting into cowboy romances, even though I don't like cowboys, but maybe that's my new type going into these romances. But this was only like $5, and so I wanted to get it. All right, another day, another bookstore or 2. So we are at Seattle, Washington, and we are heading into Pike's Place Market, and I know there are several bookstores around here. So the first bookstore I'm going to go into is on the lower level of the market, and it's called Lion's Heart Books, I believe. And then the second one I want to go into is Left Bank Books. So there are a lot of bookstores, but those are the 2 that I am aiming to go to. So let's go maybe get some books. The last city we went to for our bookstores was Seattle, Washington, and my mom grew up in Seattle part of her life, so it was nice to go back there. But we of course went to the famous Pike Place Market, and they have bookstores galore there. So the first one I went to was called Lionheart Books, and it was actually down below. So you have the normal crazy busy market, and then there is a section down below with even more shops, but it is so much calmer and quiet and just very chill. And this bookstore had a dog. It had a dog named Colby, and he was such a good employee. He worked so hard, and I loved him. He was so cute. Now, this one didn't have a huge section, but I did like the vibes in there. I really liked the underground feel of it as well. But at the end of it, I finally found a romance book. I thought I was going to walk out with nothing, but then I saw Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I own the third book in this companion series, and this is the first book, and I have to read them in order. I've read one Abby Jimenez full novel before and didn't love it, but I read a short story from her and absolutely loved it, and I hear nothing but amazing things about this entire series as a whole. I'm not sure about this one though. I do want to read it to get to the others because I think I'll like them more, but I think this one deals with like an age gap and maybe a one-night stand? I don't know. But I don't like either of those things if it deals with it. But there is a goat on a cover, and so many people love this. And the very last bookstore I went to was Left Bank Books, once again in Seattle, and this one was really rushed because we had to get out of there. So I went in and got out, and I randomly grabbed a book while I was in there that captivated my attention. And this bookstore was really cool. There was also an upstairs and a little nook by a window that you could sit and read, and I just liked the vibes in here. It was kind of more dark, almost like dark academia, which I really enjoyed. But I picked up Dead Collections by Isaac Fellman. I have never heard of this, but Dead in the title caught my attention, and this cover. And then let me tell you, the sentence that caught my attention most of all was when Archivist Soul meets Elsie, the larger-than-life widow, death, of a moderately famous television writer, TV writer, who's come to donate her wife's papers. There's an instant spark, but Soul has a secret. He suffers from an illness called vampirism. Yes, anytime I see vampire, I'm there, especially if there's a death involved. Of course, it's vampires, so there should be, but I'm interested in reading this. It's also very short. Never heard of it, but I like just picked it up on a whim because I was like, we gotta go, and it says vampires, and that's that. So those are all the bookstores that I went to across America on my 2-week road trip. Let me know if you've been to any of these, especially Writer's Block. If you are ever in Vegas, go to Writer's Block. It is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. But I'm excited to read all of these books and happy to get souvenirs from all of these shops and support independent bookstores. But that is it for this video. If you have made it this far, go ahead and leave the shopping bag emoji. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, all my social media links will be down below. And I will see you next time. Bye!